So when Reverend Josh and I stepped in March to be the co-leaders of this community, we gave a talk where we shared with the community an idea, a vision that we have for how we want to serve, especially in this first year of our new ministry. And it was we shared a number of things, but there was one sentence that I want to bring back into the room today. We shared that we want to honor the legacy and co-create our future. And so we have started a program, a series in this month of May and the first Sunday of June that I believe really is a center point for that statement. A legacy of sharing an adventure and prosperity around this time every year to stop and do some pointed work about abundance and prosperity and money and all the good that comes into our lives, and to also invite participation from our community in co-creation. And so our theme for this year's Adventures in Prosperity is Keys to the Future, our lives, our church, our world, keys to our future. And so we gave you a key, hopefully, when you came in this morning. If you didn't get one, feel free to talk to one of the greeters or the ushers about getting a key as a reminder that everyone who is a participant in our community is a key to our future as a church. And I'll talk a little bit more about this later, but we envision you keeping this key with you on a key ring or putting it on an altar or having it in a place where you see it regularly to remind yourself not only are you a key to the future of Mile High Church, but there are some keys that you can live in your life and some keys that we can be about together to shift the state of our world. And that's what I want to focus on in our series. And today we are talking specifically about unlocking the floodgates to source. For me, the first step in understanding the abundant nature in which we live, move, and have our being is to unlock the floodgates to source. And sometimes when it comes to these topics of abundance, we get a little bit uncomfortable because we feel that these topics may not go along with spirituality. But in a teaching of oneness and unity, where everything is an expression of the divine, I feel as a spiritual leader that it's my responsibility and duty to teach about everything in life, including abundance and prosperity and money, as a tool to support us in our living, and that it's an extremely spiritual and important thing to discover. For me, the vision of a world where everyone has plenty, where everyone is living a life of abundance and has plenty of food and shelter and opportunities, comes by being responsible enough to talk about it and to deepen into it and to be with it. It's a spiritual experience. It's a spiritual subject. It's a spiritual issue, as every issue is. And in a book called Amazing Book of Useless Information, how'd you like to be the author of that book, right? Noel Botham, the author, says, he reminds us that in the Judeo-Christian Bible, there are 500 passages that deal with prayer. There are under 500 passages that deal with faith. And there are more than 2,000 passages that deal with money and possessions. Spiritual admonishments and advice in the Judeo-Christian Bible. So it feels to me like that humanity has been seeking answers for how to be with the notion of our spiritual truth and the ways of the world for eons and eons and eons. And so we get to, in this month together, deepen into that exploration, that beautiful opportunity for all of us to be rooted in the spiritual truth and to recognize that if we're experiencing lack or limitation in our lives in any way, shape, or form, that our teaching and belief here says that we can step in to the flow of life. That indeed there is a floodgate of the divine that is flowing through us right now, that if we were to open completely to it, we could not keep ourselves from experiencing great good in our own life and good that we could share and give back to the world. Our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, speaks often of this, and sometimes people will try to say, well, Ernest Holmes didn't talk about abundance or money that often, but he did. He had plenty to say because I think he believed, like I did, that this is an issue that is an important spiritual issue. So here's what he said in his wonderful book called Love and Law. I love this quote. He says, if you could realize the tremendous power of attraction that holds everything in its place, it is yours. It is yours, this gift. It is the divine birthright of every living soul. But we limit ourselves by thought of limitation. Now we must open up the doors of our consciousness and expand and expand and expand and no longer think in terms of the backyard lot, but in terms of the infinite nature, in terms of the universe. He was talking about our true spiritual nature. And so we've built up these gates that block us from our spiritual nature, I think often in the form of resistance, in the form of believing and falling into beliefs that there's not enough somewhere. And every one of us has those places. For some of us, it's money. There's not enough money in the world or in my life, or the economy, there's not enough, or there's more than enough, or whatever our story is. There's not enough time. There's not enough love. There's not enough opportunities. There's not enough good people in the world. There's not enough single people in the world. There's not enough whatever it might be that our story is. And we need to recognize that in terms of the truth of the universe, this is not ever the truth. We may say it, but our saying only makes it appear to be so. I had a very powerful experience of this recently in my own personal life. When I was young and my parents started their process of splitting up, I was 10 years old, and my mother had never had a job. And so I was a little worried about if she was going to be able to make a living and we were going to be able to survive, right? And so I decided as a little 10-year-old that I would do my part by trying not to eat too much in my house, and to be sure that my brother and sister and mother had enough food. And so this was a very loving, kind thing to do, but it built up this lack in me such that when I went over to your house, I ate everything I possibly could put my hands on. Right? Or when I got that job in the lunchroom that said, if you work the lunchroom, you can have as much lunch as you want. Well, I helped myself. And so this lack consciousness built up this part of me that would overindulge. And I had other issues in my life that contributed to that, but I struggled and had an eating disorder when I was a teenager and was very frustrated with eating and food in my body for a long time, and have done huge personal growth work to heal that, which is, you might say, is a food issue, but it ultimately is a perception of lack. There's not enough. And then I was at a meeting a couple of weeks ago where we had a personal chef for the group who was preparing and presenting food. And as we'd stand around at each meal, and she would tell us what there was there to eat. And now that I'm a little bit more discerning about what I choose to eat, I noticed that as I was standing there, this anxiety was rising up in me. There's not going to be enough food. There's not going to be enough of what I need. What if they all eat all that and I don't get it and I really need that? And this whole dialogue that I was like, what are we, 10 years old again? I mean, what is going on? And then I would watch as we all ate and as we all did our thing, and notice that the chef was an expert. And by gosh, if she didn't prepare exactly the right amount of food. And that none of us, including me, went hungry time and time and time again. And as I walked away one day, I said to myself, you know what? That perception of lack is not the truth. That perception of lack is in me. There's an expert who knew what she was doing. And I would say to each one of us, whatever your lack story might be, whatever you're trying to talk yourself into believing that there's not enough of, that perception of lack, it's in you. It's not the truth. There is nothing that the expert that created this entire universe and everything in it hasn't supplied us with fully for every one of us to survive and thrive. Any perception of lack is in us. And indeed, the first thing I want to invite us to take a look at today is that illusion of lack. And to begin to call it for what it is, to look out at our world just like I had to in that moment and say, Michelle, this is your childhood talking. This is an old issue. You've got to smooth this energy out and remind yourself as you stand before that meal to give thanks for all the bounty that is before you and that there is plenty in that meal and in your life. You have never gone hungry. There is plenty of food, and to give thanks for the bounty. And that illusion is exactly that, an illusion born out of an old, worn-out perception, born out of some misperception. And that part of how we begin to unlock the floodgates that are seeking expression through us is to realize that any perception of lack is an illusion. I love the Star Wars shows, the series and the movies, and I also love a new one that's out called The Orville, and there's so many things that I love about them, but one of the things that I've spent lots of time contemplating are those replicators that they have, where they can just walk up to the replicator and ask for pretty much anything, and it shows up. And I think about how that would be if that was really the truth of life. In the Orville recently, the crew was going into the replicator and saying they were going to go down to a planet and they wanted clothing that would fit the culture of that particular planet so that they could feel like they fit in. And boom, the clothes just appeared. And how nice it would be to have a replicator for my coffee addiction. Starbucks, dark roast, grande, venti, mas, I want more. And that's what happens, right? If we imagine a replicator, this inner child in us that's been like, there's not enough, might stand before it. Chocolate and candy and whatever it is that we want, not only in food, but I'll have $1 million right there, whatever, this wanting in us. And yet, I watch how the culture is depicted in these movies and how these replicators are just like, yeah, have what you want. Have whatever you need. What if that was our world? I've contemplated, how would it be if I just really felt peace about, I can have anything I want. And then I realize, I do have a replicator. Right here. Right here. Right here. That I, through the power of my word, through the source of creation, the source flows through me so fully and completely that I have the freedom to create the life that I want to create. And nothing out there says, no, you can't have any more of that coffee. No, you can't have that. But I have the ability to step in and create. And even though I imagine that some part of me might go a little crazy, that's just my lack talking. When I step into the center of my being that says, Michelle, you could create anything you want in your life. There's an ease and a peace that comes about that says, what do I really want? What would I really like to do with the energy and the power and the gifts and the talents and the wonderful expression that is my life? There's not this desperation about, I want a new car, I want a life where I can feel happy and content and I can give back and I can serve and I can share my gifts and talents and I can connect and I can love and I can... All those things are more of the wanting for me than all that stuff that we think that we need. Now, not that that stuff isn't fun or important. It's just that I think in the space of imagining I could have anything I want, there's a peace that comes over me. A part of the desperation that we have about our world, about time, about energy, about all those things, is there's some part of us that's still believing there's not enough and that we can't have them. And when we cease believing in that and begin to allow our energy to resonate more with the replicator of the universe, the God source, the force of the universe that is pouring through each one of us in limitless capacity at all times, and we begin to understand that the life that we most seek at the depth of our being can be ours, we begin to cease giving power and energy to lack and limitation and begin to turn towards the possibilities of unlocking the source, the limitless source of the divine as us. And so today, as we begin to surrender and imagine surrendering the illusion of lack, I want to talk very squarely and clearly about what that means to us in terms of source as our life, as our church, and as our world. So, source as our life. Last week, Edwene Gaines started this series off brilliantly, didn't she? Wasn't she amazing? Those of you who are here, I thought it was brilliant and beautiful. And she's wonderful in so many ways, and she deepened my own awareness of the power of forgiveness when she was here. When I realized that in my personal life and in our life collectively, so often the reason we have a sense of lack and limitation in our personal relationships is that we continue to persist in believing that other people are our source. So Edwene talked pretty plainly to us about the power of forgiveness, about the willingness to forgive those who we perceive have wronged us or have done something that we don't believe in or that has hurt us or betrayed us. And for me, especially today on Mother's Day, what I know is that we can celebrate and honor our mothers as we have already. And a deeper reality to me of looking at Mother's Day is that all of us have a mother, right? Somewhere in the universe. And Mother's Day for me has not only become a time to honor and celebrate my mother and mothers in general, to celebrate and honor that I am also a mother, but to look at how I can free my own mother from my persistent belief that she should be the source for me. And what that looks like usually is forgiveness, because we persist in believing that our parents should be the source. And part of why it's hard to forgive is that there's a should in there, right? My mother should have loved me. My mother should have done such and such for me. My father should have whatever for me. I saw this cute story in Reader's Digest between two kids, Betsy and Billy. And Betsy says to Billy, if you have $2 and you ask your father for $4, how many dollars would you have? And Billy says, $2. And she says, she says, Billy, you don't know your math. And Billy says, you don't know my father. And I thought that's kind of the bane of it, isn't it? That we all keep part of our mother, father, daughter, son wound is that we persist in believing our parents should have fill in the blank. And all our life, we spend holding them hostage to that should. And all the while we're doing that, what happens is it's like we've plugged into them and not only think they should have, they should still. They should be different. They should be this way. They should be that way. And what happens when we choose to forgive is that we unplug our energy from them being the source, and we stand there with this unplugged energy and an opportunity to plug into the universe. Because when we're plugged in to the divine, the light, the heat, I am complete. I see the doorway of 1,000 churches, the resolutions of all my fruitless searching. And I realize the divine in me is my source. No longer do I need to keep my parents accountable as my source. I can forgive them. I can say these beings who themselves have flaws and inabilities to love or connect, they're no longer my source. I forgive them fully. But then what we find in our life is we begin to do this in everywhere that we possibly can. My spouse is not my source. My friends are not my source. My minister is not my source. The government is not my source. God knows the politicians sometimes are not our source, right? Part of what happens in our life is we begin to get the limitless source of love that I've been seeking has been right here all along. And I forgive you for forgetting that I was looking at it from you. And I let you be who you are. And I remember that. And so we begin to be free. We begin to have freedom. We begin to come alive because we've stopped trying to get something that we're never going to get from people who couldn't give it to us. And we start claiming it for ourselves. I remember in doing this work with my relationship with my mother over the years, what begins to dawn on me is how many women in my life mothered me. And sometimes my mother wasn't available, didn't live where I lived, and I needed mothering, and I got it. But for me to continue to persist and say, well, it should have come from her. She's the only source there is, would have been a lack consciousness. And so realizing how loved and supported and mothered I am, sometimes by some of you in this room, I am grateful for the ways that I am mothered and lifted up by other women and fathered by other men in this room who support me and help me enjoy that, and friended by friends and loved ones who see the truth about me. We are channels for each other, certainly, but we are not the channel. And so we get to claim our power back in this beautiful activity of forgiveness. And then we are sourced. And once sourced by that, we begin to look through the eyes of abundance at everything. And I want to talk very pointedly, just for a few minutes, about our church. Because part of this process that we enter into in this wonderful activity is to step into lifting up our church. I want to state very clearly, as a minister on this wonderful team and as a religious scientist, that I believe that God is the source of this church. Not a God out there who is deciding, well, our faith is better than their faith, or our church is better than... No. God is the source that supplies all good to Mile High Church. And many of us are channels, are God in form, and channels for that source to express itself through various forms, through giving of tithes and offerings, through sharing gifts, through showing up, through prayerfulness, that this community is sourced by so many channels. But we are not, I don't think, attached to one channel. We certainly operate in a business model that says that our ability to do all that we do and inspire people and do the good work that we do is primarily through the generous donations of our members and congregants and other channels of good that flow through our church. And yet, we work always to recognize that God is the source and invite always channels of good to continue to show up and support us. And what I know about this too is I've talked with people is that many of us have experienced guilt around money. Either we feel that organizations, whether it's churches or charities and even advertisers, are trying to guilt us into buying what it is, or have guilted us into believing that we need to pony up or that sort of thing. And so out of that belief that people are just trying to guilt us, sometimes we put our hand up. And we get defended and we want to stop. And we think, well, people shouldn't be asking for money. Churches should never ask for money. Churches shouldn't talk about money. Again, mixing that it's a spiritual issue and it's also a recognition that sometimes our perceptions of lack and having been guilted so much cause us to be defensive about money. I was even on the phone recently trying to get a hotel stay, and I had a budget in mind of what I felt good about spending out of our family budget, and when I talked to the lady at the hotel, the price was high. And I said to her, well, thank you very much, but that price is a little high for me, and so I'm going to look elsewhere. And I was so shocked, the reservation lady started trying to guilt me. She said, well, if you don't book this room, it could disappear. And I said, yeah, I know that. I'm going to go probably do something else. Thank you very much. Well, you know, this rate is a better rate. You really should take this rate. I don't think you're going to get a better rate anywhere. And I was like, wow, thank you, but I appreciate that. And as I hung up the phone, I smiled because, number one, I didn't feel guilted or offended in any way, shape, or form, which tells me that I am in a place of abundance, because what I recognize is that if I really believe that I am supplied by a limitless source of abundance, feel free to ask me for money anytime you like. Doesn't mean I have to say yes, right? But I also don't have to be offended. I don't have to be upset that someone asked me for money. Oh, okay, so what? I can be in a space of recognizing that if God is my source and I am supplied by a limitless, infinite presence, and something or someone wants me to buy their thing or join their program or give to their charity, and it's not right for me, that I can be a loving, wow, thank you, God bless you, and no. And I can also listen more intently about what is mine to do, how I might want to be a source, a channel for good. Because one of the things that happens is that when we feel too guilted about money, we tend to not source and supply the things that are most important to us. As we look at our money in our life, we might forget to say, wow, this church or this organization or this person or this ability to take care of my life in this way means a lot to me. Therefore, I'm going to channel some of my good in that direction. And so in this regard, you were given and you will be reminded and invited every week during our program to consider joining us in partnership by filling out a card of intent. They were handed out today. We will invite you to fill them out today if you choose to take them home and pray over them, to make them a part of your life. When those of us who choose to fill out a card of intent, we're doing a number of things. We're saying to ourselves, God is the source of this church. And how do I choose to step up to play? How do I choose to show up? How do I communicate to the leadership of this community that I'm there? I'm an investor. In whatever number it is, whatever amount it might be, how do I communicate that? It can be this way, which allows the wonderful board members, ministers, and staff of this church to continue to be amazing stewards of the gifts that we are giving. They are amazing stewards, and I would like to acknowledge our board and our staff for that. We also do something else for ourselves. We set an intention for ourselves that is about an intention for how much good we intend to attract into our lives without magical thinking. We don't want people to go, I plan to give $1 billion. I don't know how, but to be realistic, to be conscientious, to be in that place of centeredness and say, this is mine to do. I claim it for myself and for my church because I am in partnership, I intend to be an investor, and I say yes to that. Remember, though, it's a choice. It's not for everyone, but for those of us that feel aligned with this, then we invite you into that partnership, to fill out that card, to put it in the envelope, to put it in the offering basket, hand it to an usher, and our board of trustees have a table out in the lobby that they are willing to receive this because we get an opportunity as a community to source and lift up the church and be a channel for good for Mile High Church. And if that feels right, then we get to do that. But it's not only the church, it's other organizations and places that we want to continue to lift up. Some of us are very conscientious about where we spend our money, how we spend our money with certain companies, how we invest. It's about waking up and saying, I have a supply that pours through me and I'm going to be conscientious about it. And lastly, source as our world. I want to just speak briefly about that we all get to recognize that we are a light, a candle. But we have to remember to light the candle of light and life on behalf of our world on a regular basis. What can happen for us if we fall into the illusion of lack with regards to the world we see is that we can find ourselves complaining, being angry, feeling disconnected as a regular practice, a regular way of being. And part of that is that in our day and age, the news cycle is 24/7, and we can tap into something that's happening in the world at any given time, but we forget that that something we're seeing is just one soundbite in millions upon millions of sound bites happening. Every moment you see something horrible happening in the news, millions of great things are happening in the news. Every time we hear about someone who's done something bad, millions of good people are doing something good in the news. And we are in the world, and we have to remember that those sound bites are happening and that God is the source of good in our world, and that we do nothing good for the world by continuing to bemoan and complain and be angry and frustrated about the world, the state of the world. We may walk through those steps a little bit, but for those of us who live there constantly and talk about how the world is going to hell in a handbasket, or talking about it on social media, or talking about it with our friends, we are not part of the solution. We are part of the problem. We are in that moment. As I was contemplating this, I was thinking about armchair quarterbacks, about how many people I know who get so passionate about whatever game they're watching. Football is the quarterback element, and sitting there yelling and screaming at the TV, but it doesn't really do anything about the play on the field, does it? Right? And that's how many of us are. We're great armchair quarterbacks for what's going on in the world, but really we forget that that alone is not good enough to change the world. What has to happen in that moment is that we either have to get out of our armchair and go out and do something, or we have to be powerful prayers. I don't know what y'all are laughing about, but you'll have to share it with me later. Did you say something funny, Barbara? No, Paul? Yeah. Paul. All right, I'll get you later, Paul. We all have to be willing to do one or either or both. To change our world, we have to recognize that everything we're seeing is God in form, and that if we want the narrative to shift, it will not shift by continuing to feed the energy of lack and limitation and anger and frustration. It can only shift when we walk the planet, each one of us being willing to make the shift within us, to light the candle within us that chooses to see the abundance of possibilities, of solutions, of love, of good activities, of good deeds, of good people, of good happening in our world, to see it, to praise it, to call it out for ourselves and other, and to become a part of it, unleashing itself onto our beautiful planet. And when we begin to do that, we can change our world. And so this is an invitation. Next week, we're going to continue to talk more about how we can individually become more engaged powerfully in freeing ourselves into what I'm talking about. But for this week, I have homework. If you choose to accept, and you will. No, if you choose to accept. It's the willingness to walk forward in our life and begin to notice the illusion of lack that we've been suffering under. To notice it, to call it out, and to invite ourselves to consider how we could shift it. To notice where it is that we've been seeing other people as some source in our life and begin to unplug through the beautiful art of forgiveness or letting go or getting help doing that. It's about the willingness to step in and say, what's the role that I want to play in my church? And it's also then about the willingness to be willing to see the source of the divine in everything. Unleashing it, unlocking it through us and through our life.
Hey there, I'm Captain Chris German, and I'm coming to you for the Charted Life. And we really want you to know about Sarah Kay Photography. She was the photographer for our wedding, and she is a phenomenal artist when it comes to camera work, and she's perfect for your weddings, as you see through these photos that I'm offering right now, or for your high school or graduation photos or family photos or whatever you need. So if you're looking for a great photographer in the Beaufort area, call Sarah Kay Photography, 252-646-9033.
welcome to Super Sikh Sunday. Oh, this historic night. What a blessing it is to be here. And I want to start actually by teaching you a traditional Sikh greeting. And those of you in the audience that are from the Sikh community will know this, and you can help your neighbors. But let's start with that. Does that sound good? Okay. So it begins with hands in Namaste. And it's 3 words. Sat, Sri, Akal. Sat, Sri, Akal. Again. Sat, Sri, Akal. One more time. Sat, Sri, Akal. And this means God is the ultimate truth. This is said at every hello and every goodbye in the Sikh tradition. And so I invite you now just to turn to your neighbor and say Sat Sri Akal. Beautiful. And so I say to you, Sat Sri Akal. Thank you. So as we always begin every service, we begin it with a prayer, an opening prayer. And we are so very blessed this evening to have our senior minister, Dr. Roger Teal, who, by the way, has been on a much-deserved, wonderful sabbatical all summer. And he chose to come here for this evening, to be here, to celebrate with all of us. I'm so grateful to bring him out for our opening prayer. Please welcome Dr. Roger Teal.
Good evening, beloveds. It's wonderful to have you here. I see a new dress code emerging for Mile High Church. Love and blessings. Let's turn within. Become still, take a deep breath. And may we open our hearts. For it is in the fountain and the vortex of the heart that the divine sings its song, grows its beauty evermore into the world. The heart, fountain of divine and unconditional love. And as that love is activated in each and every one of us here this beautiful, exquisite evening, we know that automatically makes this place and every one of us blessed. We know that this connects us inextricably and eternally. We just give thanks for a beautiful evening, knowing in advance that the divine is working its wonders through all that is spoken, taught, and shared amongst us. This evening is blessed in the name and the spirit of the great gurus and Nanak and all the way showers and revealers of the truth. This evening is blessed in the name of all of the names of God, including Satnam, and the Spirit, and the Divine. And so we go forth with great joy into something compelling and unique and wondrous. We accept this. We bless all who are involved. More than anything, we accept a blessing for our brother and sisterhood and for all sentient beings on the planet, that peace may emerge evermore on this precious earth. Thank you, dear Spirit. Satnam.
Satnam.
And so it is.
And so it is. Amen.
तलियां ते मेहंदी ना मोर पौंदी होनियां मेरी चढ़ के जन जानी यार ने खोलिया प्यार दा बूहा गल सुन ले दर्जिया वे मैनू मुड़ता सिउंदे सूहा गल सुन ले दर्जिया वे मैनू मुड़ता सिउंदे सूहा
stop. Let me put it down another way.
ਮਿੱਤਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਜੰਕਸ਼ਨ ਤੇ ਰਾਤ ਲੱਗੀਆਂ ਮਹਿਫਲਾਂ ਨਾਰੇ ਓ ਮਿੱਤਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਜੰਕਸ਼ਨ ਤੇ ਰਾਤ ਲੱਗੀਆਂ ਮਹਿਫਲਾਂ ਨਾਰੇ ਤੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਖਿਚਵਾਈਆਂ ਫੇਸਬੁੱਕ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਪਾਈਆਂ ਤੇਰੀ ਕੱਲੀ ਕੱਲੀ ਫੋਟੋ ਤੇ ਡਿਲੀਟ ਮਾਰਿਆ ਨੀ ਤੇਰਾ ਸਾਰਾ ਗੁੱਸਾ ਪੰਜ ਤਾਰਾ ਠੇਕੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਠੇਕੇਦਾਰਿਆ ਮੈਂ ਤੇਰਾ ਸਾਰਾ ਗੁੱਸਾ ਪੰਜ ਤਾਰਾ ਠੇਕੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਠੇਕੇਦਾਰਿਆ ਮੈਂ ਤੇਰਾ ਸਾਰਾ ਗੁੱਸਾ ਪੰਜ ਤਾਰਾ ਠੇਕੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਠੇਕੇਦਾਰਿਆ ਮੈਂ ਤੇਰਾ ਸਾਰਾ ਗੁੱਸਾ
ਨੱਚ ਗਈ ਨੱਚ ਗਈ ਨੱਚ ਗਈ ਨੀ ਲੱਕ ਮਾਰ ਮੱਜਾ ਜਣ ਨੱਚ ਗਈ ਨੀ ਲੱਕ ਮਾਰ ਮੱਜਾ ਜਣ ਨੱਚ ਗਈ ਨੀ ਲੱਕ ਮਾਰ ਮੱਜਾ ਜਣ ਨੱਚ ਗਈ ਬੱਲੇ ਬੱਲੇ ਬਈ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਪਾਣੇ ਮੋਰ ਬੋਲਦੇ ਬੱਲੇ ਬੱਲੇ ਬਈ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਪਾਣੇ ਮੋਰ ਬੋਲਦੇ ਚੀਕੇ ਚਾਰੀ ਕਾ ਸੋਹਣੀਏ ਤੇਰਾ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਪਾਣੇ ਮੋਰ ਬੋਲਦੇ ਚੀਕੇ ਚਾਰੀ ਕਾ ਸੋਹਣੀਏ ਤੇਰਾ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਪਾਣੇ ਮੋਰ ਬੋਲਦੇ ਚੀਕੇ ਚਾਰੀ ਕਾ ਸੋਹਣੀਏ ਤੇਰਾ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਪਾਣੇ ਮੋਰ ਬੋਲਦੇ ਚਰਖਾ ਮੇਰਾ ਰੰਗ ਰੰਗੀਲਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੋਨੇ ਦੀਆਂ ਮੇਖਾਂ ਚਰਖਾ ਮੇਰਾ ਰੰਗ ਰੰਗੀਲਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੋਨੇ ਦੀਆਂ ਮੇਖਾਂ ਮਾਂ ਮੇਰੀ ਦੀਆਂ ਯਾਦਾਂ ਆਵਣ ਜਦ ਚਰਖੇ ਵੱਲ ਵੇਖਾਂ ਮਾਂ ਮੇਰੀ ਨੇ ਚਰਖਾ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਪੀੜੀ ਲਿਆ ਦੇ ਤੂੰ ਵੇ ਸਾਰੀ ਰਾਤ ਵੇ ਸਾਰੀ ਰਾਤ ਵੇ ਸਾਰੀ ਰਾਤ ਕੱਤਿਆ ਕਰੂੰ ਤੇਰੀ ਤੂੰ ਵੇ ਸਾਰੀ ਰਾਤ ਕੱਤਿਆ ਕਰੂੰ ਤੇਰੀ ਨੂੰ ਵੇ ਸਾਰੀ ਰਾਤ ਕੱਤਿਆ ਕਰੂੰ ਤੇਰੀ ਨੂੰ ਵੇ ਸਾਰੀ ਰਾਤ ਕੱਤਿਆ ਕਰੂੰ ਵੱਟੋ ਵੱਟ ਤੁਰੀ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਸੀ ਨਾ ਖੇਤ ਨੂੰ ਹੱਡੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਪੋਰਦੀ ਸੀ ਰੇਤ ਨੂੰ ਵੱਟੋ ਵੱਟ ਤੁਰੀ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਸੀ ਨਾ ਖੇਤ ਨੂੰ ਹੱਡੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਪੋਰਦੀ ਸੀ ਰੇਤ ਨੂੰ ਤੁਰੀ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਨੇ ਨਜ਼ਰ ਜਦ ਮਾਰੀ ਵੇ ਕਣਕਾਂ ਦਾ ਰੱਖੇ ਉੱਠਿਆ ਤੇਰੀ ਉੱਠਦੀ ਵੇਖ ਫੁਲਕਾਰੀ ਵੇ ਕਣਕਾਂ ਦਾ ਰੱਖੇ ਉੱਠਿਆ ਉੱਠਦੀ ਵੇਖ ਫੁਲਕਾਰੀ ਵੇ ਕਣਕਾਂ ਦਾ ਰੱਖੇ ਉੱਠਿਆ ਸੁਰਮਾਇਆ ਕੱਚ ਪਾਇਆ ਜਦੋਂ ਖੇਡਦਾ ਸੁੱਕ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਸਾਹ ਫਿਰ ਸਾਰੇ ਪਿੰਡ ਦਾ ਸੁਰਮਾਇਆ ਕੱਚ ਪਾਇਆ ਜਦੋਂ ਖੇਡਦਾ ਸੁੱਕ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਸਾਹ ਫਿਰ ਸਾਰੇ ਪਿੰਡ ਦਾ ਸਾਂਭ ਕੇ ਹੁਸਨ ਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ ਹਾਰੀ ਵੇ ਕਣਕਾਂ ਦਾ ਰੱਖੇ ਉੱਠਿਆ ਤੇਰੀ ਉੱਠਦੀ ਵੇਖ ਫੁਲਕਾਰੀ ਵੇ ਕਣਕਾਂ ਦਾ ਰੱਖੇ ਉੱਠਿਆ ਉੱਠਦੀ ਵੇਖ ਫੁਲਕਾਰੀ ਵੇ ਕਣਕਾਂ ਦਾ ਰੱਖੇ ਉੱਠਿਆ
ਬੱਲੇ ਬੱਲੇ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਸੋਹਣੀਏ ਬਹਿ ਜਾ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਸੋਹਣੀਏ ਨੀ ਤੇਰੇ ਰੂਪ ਦੇ ਨੇ ਆਸ਼ਿਕ ਸਾਰੇ ਬੱਲੇ ਬੱਲੇ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਸੋਹਣੀਏ ਬਹਿ ਜਾ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਸੋਹਣੀਏ ਬੱਲੇ ਬੱਲੇ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਸੋਹਣੀਏ ਨੀ ਤੇਰੇ ਰੂਪ ਦੇ ਨੇ ਆਸ਼ਿਕ ਸਾਰੇ ਬੱਲੇ ਬੱਲੇ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਸੋਹਣੀਏ
That's the Colorado Sikh Youth Dance Troupe. They wonderful? Traditional Sikh dance. Yes. Oh, and they're so cute. Oh. It has been such an amazing blessing to participate in this experience with our Sikh family over the last several months preparing for this and having this great opportunity. And the idea here is that we are going to, in this service, the first half is going to be the educational portion of the service. The part of the service where we have an opportunity to learn together, those of us that are new to the Sikh tradition. And then the second half of the service, we will actually get to experience a Sikh service. So to do this, I thought I would have a conversation, because when I began studying Sikhism, I had all kinds of questions. And I thought it would be wonderful to share questions and things that people from the interfaith ministry here at Mile High Church have asked me in preparation for this. So I wanted to bring a dear friend from the Sikh community forward to have a conversation just about what it is that Sikhism is, what it isn't, and what we can learn from this beautiful faith. So I want to tell you a little bit about the gentleman I'm going to chat with this evening. His name is Dilpreet Jammu. Dilpreet was born in India and raised in Canada. He holds a bachelor's degree in physics from the University of Princeton, Edward Island, and a second bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from the University New Brunswick, as well as executive education at Wharton School of Business. Mr. Dilpreet has an impressive business background. He has nearly 3 decades of international and domestic strategic business planning, and he is currently CEO at Sona Capital, a private equity capital advisory firm. As a co-director of the Khalsa School, Denver, he teaches religion, history, and the Punjabi language to Sikh children. Dilpreet is currently the chairman of the Interfaith Alliance of Colorado and also president of the Colorado Sikhs. He sits on the Fiscal Oversight Committee at the Douglas County School District and is past vice chairman for the Long Range Planning Committee. Mr. Jammu is a strong believer in religious liberty. 4 months ago, a member of the Colorado Sikh community was denied a driver's license because of his turban. Mr. Jammu and the Colorado Sikhs partnered with the Department of Justice and with Homeland Security to first change the policy in Colorado and then for 37 other states. Help me welcome my dear friend, Dilpreet Jammu. Sat Sri Akal. So glad to have you. Please have a seat. Hello.
Hello. Thank you.
So we're just going to have a little conversation, just the two of us, and a few others in our beloved family. And I have been collecting these questions for some time. And so I wanted to first ask you, because this was a big one. So in Sikhism, what is God called, and how is God described? How is God felt? So first of all, what do you call God? What are your names for God?
So we have many names for God, but the one that we use the most is probably Waheguru.
Waheguru.
Waheguru, which means wondrous Guru. And the names, how would I describe God? One of the things that we learn is that it is very difficult to describe God completely. God is so infinite that there's so much that you cannot, if you spent a lifetime, achieve a description of God. So that's how I'm going to answer part of the question. But the other thing is, we believe God is truly omnipotent, meaning all-powerful, truly omniscient, meaning all-knowing, and truly omnipresent, meaning present everywhere, which means that the divine is inside of us as well. So that would be the short 1-minute version of God.
Pretty well done. I don't know that I could do that. Very good. And so to tell me a little bit, I was so moved when you first told me about the concept of oneness in Sikhism, how the first few verses in your holy scriptures speak about this. What is the feeling of oneness in Sikhism?
So I guess the way I would describe it is the oneness is everything. Our holy scriptures, the Guru Granth Sahib, which we'll talk more about,
Yes.
Starts with actually a number. It is the only scripture that I'm familiar with that starts with a number, and that number is 1. So in our language, 1 means ik, and then it becomes ik Onkar, and the Onkar is the description of the source, the creator, the divine.
Wow.
Okay? So for us, everything goes back to the one. Everything is back to the one human race, the one divine. We are all part of that divine. We are all within that divine, and we are all one together.
Beautiful, beautiful. Share with us what you feel the most important aspects of Sikhism are, and how do you apply them to daily life? So,
Can I give 3 instead of 1?
Please. Yes, most important.
yes,
the
well,
3 most important is perfect.
You know, I would say for us as a faith, there were really 3 values or 3 things that we talk about, and you'll hear them. One of them is called Nam Japna, which means to worship the name of the Creator, the Source. So Nam Japna is one of those. Kirt Karna means to do honest, hard labor. So what you'll see is members of the Sikh community are always engaged in honest labor and are working towards that. So you've done the worship component, you've done the hard work component, and now it is time to share. So we have a phrase called Wandake Chakna, which means we share everything that we have got with others.
Yes, you do.
Okay? I would say that those would be the principles that I would say are the ones that are the most important, because they are all about being something. I'd like to say Sikhism is all about the experience. It is not about the belief. So just because you believe in something doesn't just make it. You also have to go out and experience it and work it and do your part in society as well as in life and with your family. That would be my answer.
That's
How's that?
beautiful. Thank you. Isn't that beautiful? That's treat and move your feet. Where we say pray and move into action. That's beautiful. So tell us a little bit about how you feel about religious freedom.
I love it. Okay, so what's interesting is religious freedom is a major component of our belief systems. So I'll just describe this briefly. Our 9th Guru, and we'll talk more about the Gurus in a second, he was called upon to actually give his life for another faith. So at that time, it was a difficult time. He asked and gave his life not for his religious beliefs, but for others. I would say that that is a major component of why I work with the Interfaith Alliance and the things that I do.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So we are all going to be, after this service, we're all going to be fed with the langar. And for all of you, it's spelled langar, but it's pronounced lunger. So after the service, you might be a little lungry. So we will all be fed. So I would like to know, what is the origin of the langar? How did that come about?
So first things first, had I known you were going to say lungry, I might have just known and held on. I have never had a variation like that. And to do it in front of 1,500 people, thank you so much. So for those of you who are interested in knowing about the langar and what it means to be lungri, let me answer it to you this way. Okay. And now let me get very serious, because we're supposed to have a serious conversation.
Oh, heavens no.
Okay. So
This
the
is
history,
fun, my friend.
The history of the langar actually started with the first Guru, Guru Nanak. And what he did was he realized that at that time, and remember this is 500 years ago or so, people of different castes and different creeds, different faiths, different everything, did not sit together. And in order to create an equality of all, he instituted the langar. And the langar was also instituted to feed the poor, because the poor need to be taken care of.
Yes.
It was the, wow, I'm getting emotional about this.
Yeah.
It was the 3rd Guru who actually institutionalized the langar.
Beautiful. Thank you.
And it's been there for 500 years.
Such good work in the world you do. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's such a deep part of your seva, your spiritual practice. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. So tell us, speaking of that, tell us, where do Sikhs pray? Tell us about the temple, the Gurdwara.
You know, first things first, we do not have a Sabbath. There is no specific day which is considered more sacred or less sacred than the other. We are supposed to pray every single day. It's a part of it's a part of being. You wake up every day, you eat every day, so why is it you only pick one day to pray? Okay? And so the prayers, and that are there, we have morning prayers and we have evening prayers. The organized component of our faith is around the Gurdwara, or the Sikh temples, as we call them here in the West. And that is where you meet with other members of the community and like-minded members to sit, to pray, to meditate, to be together. So that is the practice.
Thank
so
you.
there's individual, which you're supposed to do every day, and then also the communal aspect as well.
Beautiful. It is such a community feeling. I would love for you to tell our friends, what is the translation of the word Gurdwara?
So the Gurdwara means the Guru's door.
The
That is
Guru's
the
door.
simplest explanation I can give it.
That's so cool. I love that. Now, I've also heard many folks often will confuse Sikhism with Buddhism, Islam, and Hinduism. And so can you clarify what it is that you have in common and what it is, where it is that it might be different with those three
Yeah. So
faiths?
I'll give the simplest answer I can. Just like the Hindu faith, we do believe in reincarnation. And the reincarnation is one which is based on your relationship with the source. It is not necessarily a fixed story that goes forward. You can change your future by doing things and by grace right now. So we have that in common. We are different in the sense that we believe in one source, one creator, one divine. And as many of you already know, the Hindu faith believes in countless. In terms of Islam, Islam is a beautiful faith. We share one God with them, and we believe that the source, the creator, the divine is also present everywhere. And comparatively speaking, I would say that we do not have the concept of heaven and hell. We do not have a single heaven and hell. I would say heaven and hell are temporary states. We believe they're all temporary states that you go through as a part of your birth and death cycle. So there's nothing that is ever permanent except becoming one with the source, becoming one with God, which can happen at any time, including during a human birth. With Buddhism, this is interesting, you picked three of them, and they're all semi and Eastern religions,
Yes.
and one is Abrahamic. In terms of Buddhism, we share many commonalities and thoughts there as well. I would say the concept of pain, suffering, sukh and dukh, meaning ease and difficulty, and the whole cycle of up and down in terms of life, that is shared very much with Buddhism. And depending on which Buddhist philosophy you look at, we do believe that there is a creator, a source, a oneness that exists out there. So I would venture those would be the high-level comparisons between the various faiths.
Beautiful, beautiful. And tell me now, what is the belief that Sikhs have about women and equality? And hold that mic close, because we want to get all of this when you speak this, please, my friend.
I'm going to be recorded, is what you're saying.
You bet.
So what's interesting, I saw your video that you did, and you were speaking about Sikhism
Yes.
and the role of women. What is fascinating is that Sikhism is the first major religion that actually codified and stated clearly that women are equal to men in role, in all aspects, including spiritual. No one is higher, no one is lower. Everything that men can do for spiritual, for religious, for whatever, women can do it as well. And what you will see in many of our gurdwaras is that women take part in all aspects of the services. And there is nothing that stops anyone from doing any aspect of the service. And I'll share a quick story with you. My sister got married, and our best friend, she did the wedding.
That's beautiful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's beautiful. And so I would like to know now, I would love for you to share with our community and our beautiful community online, what is the Sikh view of homosexuality?
Okay. So, I'm going to answer the question this way.
Yes.
The first part of it is that there is nothing within our scriptures within our Bani that I'm aware of that refers to or even talks about any aspect of sexuality, okay? And that is me now personally responding to that. Here's what I believe. I believe that the Creator made me. I don't know, I can't get up and say I'm a self-made person, okay? So the Creator made me the way I am. The Creator also made the other individuals who are also part of the one. So I am not here to judge those individuals because the path that has been decided for me is maybe different to me, but is a path which is already there for all aspects. So I would answer it as follows. It does not matter, from a Sikhism point of view, when you walk through the Gurdwara, it does not matter if you're gay or straight. It does not matter if you're black or white. It does not matter what faith you are, what religion you are. It does not matter what gender you are. Your political affiliation, for those of you who are looking at politics right now, does not matter at all. Your political affiliation does not. What really matters is that you are a human being, you are one human being, and you're part of a human race. And I would say if you're suffering, it is the job of a Sikh to take care of you.
Amen. Amen. So we will talk more in depth about the turban later, but I want to just ask you a few words. What do you want us to know the most, in your words, about what the turban signifies? Just briefly. Briefly.
I would say it signifies standing up and standing out, okay? Because what it means for me personally is that I'm always standing up and standing out, all right? And in whatever I do, I have to be that much better than I can be. From a religious point of view, it was given to us to cover our hair, because as you know, we keep long hair. We can talk more about that another time in more detail, as I like to say. But the hair and the covering of the hair, and as an article of faith, those are the things that it means for me. Yes. And it identifies me personally, but it also says that I have to step up and take care of my fellow human beings.
Beautiful. I also want to hear from you a little bit. I find it fascinating, and for those of you who don't know, the holy scriptures in Sikhism, called the Guru Ji or the Guru Granth Sahib, it's the only scriptures in any religion where the scriptures, the holy scriptures, are considered to be a living being. And we will be bringing those scriptures out, the Guruji, and we will do that a little bit later in the service. That's why we're all covering our heads out of respect. But I wanted to know from you, and you can let everyone know here, where did that come from? Where did this concept of this incredible idea of the Guruji, the scriptures being a living being, how did that come about? And who wrote that? Would you share with everyone the scriptures?
So our scriptures, to my knowledge, not only begin with the number 1, but they are also the only scriptures which were codified or captured in writing while our gurus were alive. Virtually every other faith that I'm aware of, there was an oral tradition which was then followed by codification or by the writing of those oral traditions. We were blessed that our gurus were writing, and many of our scriptures were actually in their handwriting, and they wrote them.
Well, I didn't know that.
Okay.
I just learned that right this minute.
Well, hey, you used
really?
Wangari. I had to throw that out on the table, you know.
That's great.
Okay.
That's
so
great.
That is, and
wow.
so we believe. So for us, the teachings are the embodiment. It is not the book itself. And my apologies to the international Sikh audience. It is really living the message that is there. It's not just the physical aspect of it. It is the Bani, or what we call our scriptures, is to live those. That is what matters.
Beautiful, Beautiful. And lastly, I just want to ask, what are some of the spiritual practices in your faith? You mentioned earlier that you pray, that that's a daily practice. We in our community, we're big on meditation. What is your practice of that, and what spiritual practice do you engage in a regular basis?
So we do, as I mentioned at one point, prayer and prayer meditation is a very big component for us as a part of our services and our practice. What we also do is what we call Nam Japana, which I mentioned earlier, which is to speak the word or the name of God. And you can use any names, any number of names that you know, and countless more. And we also do Nam Simran, which is to remember the source, to remember the creator. So it is not just speaking, it is also to be continuously within that and to meditate. And so wherever possible, you meditate and remember the source and the creator.
Wonderful.
So those would be the practices.
Wonderful. And do you meditate daily? Is that something that is part of what people do?
Yeah, so you know what, you're asking me to be honest. Unfortunately, I don't do it every day.
No one here can relate.
No, but what I do find, thank you, see, now here's my
We
challenge.
all do our best, my friend.
Here it is, I got a reverend asking a question, I got to answer it honestly. Okay. And on top of it, I'm being recorded, so. Okay, so actually I do my best to do
Of
it.
course.
And I'll point this out, I would say wherever possible, and to me, it doesn't matter. I don't have to sit down anywhere. I can remember the source and the creator, and I do. I'll remember them grocery line. I'll remember them while driving. I'll remember the source, the creator, the divine.
Yes.
And even that is a form of remembrance.
Yes.
So, yes, I do. I do it every day.
Wonderful. All right. Good answer. Good answer. I love also how you use so many words for God. That's just so very beautiful. So we thought it would be lovely to actually have all of us engage in a Sikh meditation practice. And do you want to talk a little bit about how you teach this to the children, and then we'll bring the kids up?
I would love to.
Yes.
The meditation that I'm about to share with you is one that is really good and is a great starting point for all kids of all ages, from 0 to 800. So this qualifies the entire congregation.
Wonderful.
Okay, and the meditation is one which my children learned while they were at a youth camp in Espanola, Mexico. We have an American Sikh community that does an amazing job in terms of leadership. And the meditation is very simple. Do you want me to just start it?
Sure. Actually, you know what? Let's
do that one. Let's
you know
look
what
at
we
it.
learned. Dilpreet and I each have two daughters that are almost the exact same age, and since this is a true interfaith service, we're going to incorporate two of my daughters and Dilpreet's two daughters to help join us. So let's bring up. We've got our 14 and 16-year-old Dilpreet's daughters, Meg and Isha, who are 14 and 16, and my daughters, McKenna and Flynn, who are 14 and 17. Come on up, girls. Thank you. All right, now take it away, my friend.
Okay, so this is called the Satanama meditation, and it's very easy to learn. So you know how kids are fidgety, right? Take your hand and do this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now take both hands and do the same thing. And you can set them down on your knees to be comfortable, but just do 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, we are going to say 4 syllables or sounds while we're doing this. So ready? The first one is sa,
Sa,
ta,
ta,
na,
na,
ma.
ma.
Got it? Sa,
Sa,
ta, na, ma. Ready? One more time.
Sa, ta, na, ma. And
Now-
this means God within is our true essence. It's
That is-
beautiful. I just want to
so-
be sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So now we're going to get serious because it is a meditation. Okay. What I'd like to do is to get everybody to sing. So we're going to just sing it once, practice it once, and then we'll go through the meditation. So we're going to sing it, I don't know what key it is, but it goes like this. Are you ready? Sa, ta, na, ma. Sa, ta, na, ma. Okay? So here's what we're going to do. We are going to do 5 singing 5 Satnamas, very softly spoken, and then we are just going to think and remember Satnam. Okay? Are we ready? Satanama, 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 Satanama,
Let's all take a deep breath, and when you're ready, please return to the room. I could do that every day. Thank you. Thank you, friend, for teaching us that. Thank you. Thank you. Let's give a big thank you to Dilpreet and to our daughters. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Lovely, lovely, lovely. So, you know, as we mentioned and touched on a little bit earlier, the turban for the Sikhs is really something that we felt that we really wanted to explain and really wanted to understand, because it is such a source of misunderstanding. And there is a young woman that I was so impressed with when I met her. She is so well-spoken and such a blessing to this, not only the Sikh community, but to our community. And I asked her if she would speak about the turban for us. I want to tell you a little bit about her. Noreen Kaur Singh is a recent graduate from the University of Colorado Boulder with a BA in molecular, cellular, and developmental biology. Post-graduation, she plans on joining a campaign and attending law school. She's studying for her LSATs. Let's all know that that goes very well for you. I'm certain it will. As the co-founder of Colorado's first Sikh Student Association, Noreen has worked extensively to engage in her Sikh community in outreach efforts. At CU, due to her advocacy regarding educating her peers about the Sikh faith, she received the 2015 Outstanding Student Voice Award. In an effort to increase awareness about Sikhism in the government, Noreen has interned at the White House Initiative on Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders, the Sikh American Legal Defense and Education Fund, and the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunities Commission. She hopes to become a U.S. Congresswoman one day, no doubt. No doubt. And when you do that, she is going to participate in changing the current stigma of faith within politics. She is such an impressive young woman. Please help me welcome my friend, Noreen Kaur Singh. Sat Sri Akal.
Good evening.
Good evening.
As a little girl, I anxiously waited to watch my father tie his long, unshorn hair into a camouflage-colored turban every morning. One day I asked him, as he was tying it on before heading to work at the United States Army, "What's the point of tying it if you're just going to take it off again?" He decided to tell me of a time, 500 years ago in India, a society where women were less than human, where the caste system was the law of the land, the persecution of religious communities the norm. During this time, the majority of people in India, and even today, composed of the lower castes, and only the royalty wore turbans. My dad sat down as he explained that Sikhism was born during this time, and with that territory came along a struggle for fighting against prejudice in discrimination and oppression. The Sikh gurus, or teachers, desire to uplift the downtrodden and make them the equals to the highest of the high. What better way to do it than establishing the turban as an article of faith? Upon establishing the turban as a vital part of the Sikh identity, our 10th Guru, Guru Gobind Singh Ji, said, "My Sikh will be recognized amongst millions." Women were brought to an equal level as men with the turban, another way for the Sikh gurus to cast away gender discrimination. As a little girl, I left that conversation feeling blessed that I was born into a faith that demanded justice, even if it meant dealing with hardship. When I was in first grade, everything I thought of went up in flames on September 11th, 2001. I saw my Sikh friends begin to remove that turban they once wore with courage. I heard my brother telling me stories as he walked the streets of New York of people yelling racial slurs at him. I was so ashamed to turn on the TV and just watch the news. At one of my local Sikh services, as we were singing a religious hymn, "Na daron arasyon jab jaye laro, nisachye kare apni jeet karo," I wondered, what did that mean? The translation was, "May I not fear when I fight with the foes, because with faith and fortitude, may I attain victory." It was at this time I realized in those battles of life, the turban is what serves as our shield. The long fight ahead for my Sikh community is one of increasing education of my faith. My hope is for one day, whenever someone sees an individual who looks like my brother or my father, both who wear turbans, they don't see something they fear. They see an article of faith that embodies discipline, fighting for freedom for all, and most importantly, love. My dad always reminded me that when he's in a crowd of millions, he wants people to spot that turban and see it as a beacon of hope, knowing that it would provide a sense of peace and safe harbor. In a world that is dualistically divided, my religion versus your religion, us versus them, you versus me, we have lost our essence as human beings, beings that love, care, and grow from one another, beings that at the end of the day are all on our unique path to finding something greater than we can imagine, and that is what is beautiful. I am humbled to have been able to speak before you all today. To me, we are all Sikhs because we are all learners. Because of this event, we are all united as one. We asked questions, we discussed, and we joined side by side. Maybe Lion King had it right when Simba sang, "We will stand by your side, filled with hope and filled with pride. We are more than we are one." Thank you.
Thank you. Beautiful, Noreen. Thank you. When we discussed this, we decided that one of the things that was so very important was to demystify the turban. Thank you so much for bringing that in. And we also decided that we were going to have an opportunity to have two of our volunteers actually have turbans tied on their head, which we will have later as well, but so that you can all see this process. So with that, we have two of our beautiful practitioner, Faith Cole, and my uncle, Ken Nakamura, have volunteered. Thank you. They are so active in the interfaith ministry, and we're so excited that you are doing that.
And the two members we have from the Sikh faith are Devinder Singh Sandhu and Kanwar Singh Sandhu.
Please. Sat Sri Akal. Good to see you. Sat Sri Akal. Thank you. Now, Faith had a wonderful question, and I wanted to give her an opportunity to ask that here.
So I was wondering why some women choose to wear headscarves and other women choose turbans.
Yeah, so essentially the turban was given to us as a gift from our 10th Guru. And typically in the olden days, women already used to cover their hair with something called like a chunni or a scarf. And so over time, I think it's really important to make it clear that Sikhs do not require every follower to wear a turban. Sikhs who believe wherever they are in their own spiritual journey to Sikhism can put the turban on at any time, but it is not a requirement that if you have to be a Sikh, you have to wear a turban. And so I've seen, speaking in 2016, many women choosing to wear the turban because if a man can wear a turban, a woman can wear one too. And, yeah.
Yes!
So it's definitely something that I'm seeing changing, and hopefully one day we'll just see a larger number of women wearing turbans.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. And wow, look how quickly you did that. That's so impressive. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Uncle Ken, I know that you had wanted to say something. Can we hand the mic over to Ken?
Thank you. Yes, after hearing your remarks about the history and the meaning of the turban, I just want to say that I feel immense gratitude to you for allowing me to experience this wonderful spiritual practice of your great faith. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you. Wonderful. So, thank you. So now is the time in the service where we are actually going to move into experiencing a Sikh service right here in our church. And there's a couple of things that I want to just share with you about this. So here is in this moment where all of us here, those online, the Colorado Sikhs, and Sikhs all over the world, here is where we get to witness history being made. We're so deeply honored, we are so deeply humbled to be the first church in North America to be given permission to have a Sikh service within church walls. This is just immensely important, and we're just so deeply honored here at Mile High Church. So I would like for you all for a moment to imagine that the Christian Bible or the Torah or the Quran or the Bhagavad Gita or any sacred text was an actual living being. That Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, Lao Tzu, or any of the great masters was actually going to come into this sanctuary. This is the level of importance and reverence that the Holy Scriptures, the Guru Granth Sahib Ji, is for the Sikhs. And so as such, very special preparations are made for the arrival of the Guruji, including covering our heads and removing our shoes. A few weeks ago, a group from our Interfaith Multicultural Ministry, the I Am Ministry here at Mile High Church, visited a Gurdwara here in town, and I have asked them all to be a part of the creation and the participation up here of the service on the platform. So I'm going to invite them to come forward and begin the transformation of the Gurdwara. Because the Guru Granth Sahib is the most sacred aspect of Sikhism, there must not be any dirt whatsoever on the ground when Guruji is brought into the Gurdwara. So this is why they lay down floor coverings. Also, members of the congregation from our Sikh community are now preparing a beautiful place for the Guruji to be set down. When all is ready and the Guruji is brought in on the head of the Gyani Ji, or spiritual teacher. The reason for this, you will see this, and the reason for this is to keep the Guru at the highest point in the room. And as the Guruji is being brought in, water is sprinkled on the floor in front of the Guruji, and a whisk is constantly moved back and forth to keep the air clean for the Guru Granth Sahib. You will also notice that out of respect for the Guruji, no one turns their back on the sacred scriptures. So because of this, I'm going to invite our sign language interpreter, Dawn Mabry, to please step into a place on the platform where her back will not be facing the Guru. And at this time, I would also like to invite our narrators, Ragbir Kaur Kern and Serene Singh, to come forward to help.
Here's one point that we need to make, that we did not bring the Guru, but a form of wisdom. The chair.
Lots of details to make this happen. The Guru Granth Sahib that we are bringing in is the Senchi form of the Guruji for our Sikh audience, so that you are aware. We are bringing in the Senchi form of Guruji. And so now I give you the Sikh temple at Mile High Church. We ask that you refrain from any filming or photography during the service. The entrance and exits of the Guru Granth Sahib are meant to be done in sacred silence. So please do refrain from any applause until the service is over and you receive a signal from me. So as you are able now, please stand in sacred silence for the arrival of the Guru Granth Sahib.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. This is the traditional greeting when you speak in the Gurdwara. It expresses the special relationship between God and those who have dedicated their life to Guruji's service. It also expresses faith in the ultimate triumph of the forces of goodness. So Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. In a Gurdwara, the singing of the hymns is a major component of the service. The entire Guru Granth Sahib is written to music. All of the scriptures can be sung. So some of you may recognize this as the original version of Kirtan. The first hymn we will sing is a chant called Naam Nit Nit Le. It means to always, always remember God, and in this remembering, God within will free us from the ocean of duality, and our mind and body shall be blessed with peace. We invite you to join in for this chant.
तू
next hymn is called The Song of Bliss, and it is sung at every single service, even weddings and memorials. Even the meaning of this sacred scripture is the mind and soul of a true Sikh remain God-centered in all circumstances of life. And in the awakened mind, one is always in tune with the sweet will of God.
We invite you to take in the beauty of the Punjabi language and allow the ageless wisdom of this hymn to wash over you.
रामकली महला तीजा नंदी क्यों का सतगुरु प्रसाद आनंद भया मेरी माए सतगुरु में पा सतगुरु तो पाया से तीन बुझाया भरनाई राग रतन परवार परिया शब्द गावनिया शब्दों को गावो हरि तेरा मन नहीं बसाया कहे नानक आनंदो वा सतगुरु में पाए कहे मन मेरे तू सदा करना करना जरूर तू मन मेरे दूर सविसार अंगीकार करे तेरा सबना गला समृत स्वामी सो क्यों मनो विसार कहे नानक मन मेरे सदा दा भरनारे साचे साहेब क्या नहीं करते करता तेरे सब दिन है तेरे सुभा सदा शिव साला तेरी नाम मनसा नाम जिनके मन उसिया वाजे सब तकनेर कहे नानक सच्चे साहेब क्या नहीं करते साचा नाम मेरा आधार सच नाम आधार मेरा जन्म का सब गवाए बरसात सुपन पाए बसिया तेरी इच्छा सब पूरा सदा कुर्बान किता गुरु उत्तम जिसकी बढ़ियाई कहे नानक सुनो संतन शब्द गुरु के साचा नाम मेरा आधार वाजे पंग शब्द घर सवागे सब कला जग दरबारिया पंज दूत तुझ वसी कीते काल कंटंगा तू कर पाया तू जिनको से नाम करके ला कहे नानक ते सुनो तुझ कर आनंद सुनो बड़ भागियो सगल मनोरथ पूर और गुरु पाया उतने सगल विसूर गुरु संता पुत्रे सोनी सच्ची बाणी संत साधु गए सबसे पूरे गुर तेजा सुनते पुनीत कहते तू सदगुरु या बरतू बिन मतान गुरु चरण लागे वाजे मन मत रसो कौन गुरु पाणी पिता माता धरत महत युवराज तो गाई दाया खेले सगल जगत जन्याया प्रिया वाजे जन्म दूर करनी आपो अपनी कहने के दूर जिंदी नाम दिया गए मसकर गाल नानक देव पूजिल खेती छुट्टी नाल वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह।
In this section of the service, it's called the Ardas. You will notice the participants up here will be bowing. They do this by touching their heads to the floor. Know that this is an outward sign of a deep reverence and respect for the Guru Granth Sahib. You will also notice the Gyani Ji, or the spiritual leader, will have his back to us during this portion of the service. This is in order so that he always remains facing the Guruji. For those of us who are here and online who do not speak Punjabi, I invite you once again to listen to this with your soul and receive it with an open heart.
The Ardas is recited. It is the people's prayer, and it is a request to God for support. In the first section, we remember all of our gurus or our spiritual teachers. In the second section of the Ardas, we remember all the sacrifices throughout history that Sikhs have made in the name of peace, religious freedom, and our faith. And in the third section, we request God to bless the langar and any other prayers for the congregation. In this service today, we will give thanks for the hymns, the congregation of Mile High Church, the Colorado Sikhs, Reverend Shannon O'Hurley, and all of the leadership of Mile High Church, as well as those who share this with us today. Please stand for the Ardas.
अरदास हमार पिंड सब तेरा वाहिगुरु कौन कुछ सब तेरी बढ़िया बोलना जी सतनाम श्री वाहिगुरु एक ओंकार श्री वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह श्री भगवती जी सहाय वार श्री भगवती जी की पातशाही 10वीं प्रथम भगवती सिमर के गुरु नानक ली धियाए। फिर अंगद गुरु ते अमरदास रामदास हुई सहाय। अर्जन हर गोबिंद नो सिमरो श्री हर राय। श्री हर कृष्ण धियाइए जिस चिट्ठे सब दुख जाए। गुरु तेग बहादुर सिमरिए घर नवनित आवे धाए। सब थाई होना साध सिंह पातशाह श्री गुरु गोबिंद सिंह जी महाराज। दशा पासनी आत्मक जो धन धन गुरु ग्रंथ साहिब महाराज ना ध्यान रखे बोलना जी। हजूर दे पंज प्यारे चार साहिबजादे चाले मुक्ते हठियां जपियां तपियां जिन्होंने नाम जपिया वंड के छकिया देख लाई तेग वाही देख के डिट कीता। तिना सचियारियां प्यारियां महापुरखां दी नेक कमाई ध्यान रखे बोलना जी। जिन्हां सिंघां सिंघणियां धर्म दे वास्ते सीस दिते बंद बंद कटवाए खोपड़ियां लुहाइयां चरखड़ियां ते चढ़ाए गए सिखे केसा स्वासा नाल निभाए। तिना सिंघां सिंघणियां दी पवित्र कमाई ध्यान रखे बोलना जी। पंजा तख्ता समूह गुरुद्वारा ध्यान रखे बोलना जी। प्रथम सरबत खालसा जी की अरदास सरबत खालसा जी को वाहेगुरु 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 चितावे। चितावन का सदकाल सर्व सुख होवे। जहाँ जहाँ खालसा जी साहिब तहाँ तहाँ रक्षा रियायत देग तेग। फतेहव्रत की पैच पंथ के जी श्री साहिब जी साहिब खालसा जी के बोल बाले बोलना जी। सिखा नूं सिखी दान केस दान रहत दान विवेक दान भरोसा दान दानसर दान नाम दान। श्री अमृतसर साहिब जी दे दर्शन स्नान चौकियाँ झंडे बूंगे जुगो जुग अटल। धर्म का जय जयकार बोलना जी। सिखा दा मन नीमा मत उची मत पदे राखे काल पुरख। श्री ननकाना साहब तो गुरुद्वारा गुरधामा पंथ नूं विछोड़िया गया पातशाह इतना दे खुले दर्शन दीदारे। सेवा संभाल दी दान खालसा पंथ नूं बख्शो पातशाह बख्शिश करनी। समूह संगतां दे सीस ते अपना मेरा बरात रखना। तेरे पंथ दी चढ़दी कला होवे दुनिया विच अमन शांति वरते सर्व संसार ते सुख होवे। तेरा नाम चितावे नानक नाम। वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा बोले सो निहाल।
Please be seated.
खालसा वाहिगुरु जी की।
Every day at the Golden Temple in Punjab, India, the Guru Granth Sahib is open to a random page. The scripture that is read on that particular day is called Hukamnama, and it is meant to be the divine and perfect message for all who hear it. The following scripture was divinely selected for today on September 4th. I will first read it in Punjabi, and then I will ask Sareen to read its meaning in English. Satnam Vaheguru Ji. तनासरी महला पंजवा। जिसको बिसरे प्राणपत दाता सोई गनाओ अभागा। चरण कमल जाका मन रागियो अमय सरोवर पागा। तेरा जन राम नाम रंग जागा। आलस छीज गया सब तंते प्रीतम स्यो मन लागा रहाओ। जय जय पेखो ते नारायण सगल कटा मैं तागा। नाम उदक पीवत जन नानक त्यागे सब अनुरागा।
Waheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji ki Fateh. To my beautiful family out here today, this is the one congregation, this one Sangat, we've come together. Given that many of you are here and are non-Punjabi speakers and may not understand the context or the full meaning of what was just said, the following is an interpretation of the meaning of today's message, today's Hukamnama. It is the most unfortunate for the one who forgets that the one truth of life is that of the great giver, one whose mind is in love with the consciousness amongst all of us. The oneness we all have present in us obtains true enlightenment. Your humble soul awakes in the love of God's name. Any lethargy, any boredness departs from one's body. Your mind becomes attached to the beloved giver. Wherever I look, whoever I look at, there is God. God is in the string upon which all hearts are strung, drinking in the water of the name of the one, the giver, the creator. Guruji asks us to renounce all other loves and accept the true love, the one true love we have in this life, the one for God. ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ
It is time for Guru Granth Sahib Ji to depart. We ask that everyone please stand as you're able.
For the closing of the service, while the Guru Granth Sahib is being carried out of the Gurdwara, we request that everyone remain silent and feel free to gently bow from your standing position as Guruji leaves. Again, please refrain from applause as the silence is considered sacred. Now we may applaud. That was incredible. What a blessing. Thank you, dear Sikh family, for giving us such an incredible opportunity to witness that grace and that sacredness. Thank you. So this is the time for our tithes and offerings. This is the time where we give our gift and send it out into the world, knowing that it uplifts, it heals, it supports. I want to thank all of you so much for the gifts that you give. It allows us to do what we are doing here. I also want to take a moment and thank our beloveds online. We have people watching from all over, from Ecuador, from northern India, from Oregon, from Arkansas, and from California. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's like 6 o'clock in the morning in India. Thank you. Thank you. And we invite you also to contribute to what we are doing here. And as we always do, we always give 10% of what the collection is for something that we want to support with the religion or the culture that we are engaged with. And so what we have decided is that we are going to partner with the Colorado Sikhs. Mile High Church and the Colorado Sikhs are going to be doing a community langar together in City Center Park to feed the homeless. So thank you for your gifts. So I invite the ushers to come forward. Thank you very much, and I also invite our dancers once again to come bless us with their beautiful dances.
तू कनेडा गई फिर तू गई सी अमेरिका
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so very much. You know, I just want to, from the bottom of my heart, say thank you for all of you who came here tonight, Labor Day weekend, Taste of Colorado. Just so pleased that you're here to share this with us. I want to also thank the ministry team, the practitioners, the Interfaith Multicultural Ministry that has worked so hard to help put this together. Can we please give them a hand? All of the ushers and everyone who has done so much work. Oh my goodness. And to our incredible Sikh family who have trusted us with this. And really, we're just getting started. I wanted to just let you know that there is, of course, on the way to the Langar in the community center where you will be fed a delicious meal, we have a festival that's going to be happening. So as you exit, I invite you to go ahead and put your shoes back on since you'll be outside. And you can either keep your head covering on or remove it. However, when you get back to the community center, they ask because it's tradition. So please do remove your shoes and just put that head covering on again if you would. And notice on your way there, we have all kinds of wonderful things. There's henna tattoos, there's bread making, there's dancing, there's all kinds of wonderful things. You can get your name in Punjabi, all kinds of wonderful things to celebrate and do. Also incredible educational tables and outreach, and you can learn more about the Langars and the just beautiful work that the Sikhs are doing in the world. So, but we had a little bit of weather today, so there will be some festivities here in the lobby. There will be some festivities in the vote, and some outside. Appetizers will be outside also on your way into the Langar. So roam around, explore, make new friends, and what else did I want to let you know? When you go to the Langar, know that it's a first come, first serve, and that also you'll be asked to sit on the floor inside the Langar, but if that is difficult for you, there are chairs that are around, that surround the community center, as well as tables outside if you prefer that. And let's see. So yes, just make yourself comfortable and enjoy our wonderful meal. And now I would like to invite Dr. Roger to come up to do the blessing of the meal. They blessed it already in Punjabi, and now would you say grace for us, my dear friend?
Job.
Thank you.
Let's hear it for Reverend Shannon and her leadership.
Thank you.
What happens after this?
I'm going to pray.
So we just give thanks for the radiance of love and the energy of our shared humanity and our oneness in the Spirit as we just for a moment pause to give thanks that the infinite invisible Spirit forms itself in all that we need. And as the food we're about to enjoy, we give thanks for the all-giving, all-originating Spirit, its love, as it manifests as substance to build up the substance of our body, that we might allow our journey of awakening to continue in our great love and our heart. We give thanks for this meal. We give thanks for our Sikh brothers and sisters, for all of us as we share our love and our food together. Thank you, dear Spirit, and so it is. Amen.
And so it is. Amen. Enjoy the meal. Enjoy the festivities. Thank you.
Creator, it is I. Thank you for today's sunrise, for the breath and life within me, and for all of your creations. Creator, hear my prayer and honor my prayer. As the day begins with the rising sun, I ask, Spirit Keeper of the East, Brother Eagle, be with me. Fly high as you carry my prayers to the Creator. May I have eyes as sharp as yours, so I am able to see truth and hope on the path I have chosen. Guide my step and give me courage to walk the circle of my life with honesty and dignity. Spirit Keeper of the South, Wolf, be with me. Help me to remember to love and feel compassion for all mankind. Help me to walk my path with joy and love for myself, for others, for the four-legged, the winged ones, the plants, and all creation upon Mother Earth. Show me it is right for me to make decisions with my heart, even if at times my heart becomes hurt. Help me to grow and nurture my self-worth in all ways. Spirit Keeper of the West, Brown Bear, be with me. Bring healing to the people I love and to myself. Bring into balance the physical, mental, and spiritual, so I am able to know my place on this earth, in life and in death. Heal my body, heal my mind, and bring light, joy, and awareness to my spirit. Spirit Keeper of the North, White Buffalo, be with me. As each day passes, help me to surrender with grace the things of my youth. Help me to listen to the quiet and find serenity and comfort in the silences as they become longer. Give me wisdom, so I am able to make wise choices in all things which are put in front of me. And when time for my change of worlds has come, let me go peacefully, without regrets, for the things I neglected to do as I walked along my path. Mother Earth, thank you for your beauty and for all you have given me. Remind me never to take from you more than I need, and remind me to always give back more than I take.
you